Civic? To me, civic is citizen.
Civic, as kind of community involvement and community engagement.
Being involved in your community.
How would I define the word civic? Well, for me, mostly it's about participation and things that affect all of us.
But it also involves ethics. It involves trust. It involves a number of things involving honesty and standing up for those things that need to be stood up for.
Civic. No man is an island. No man stands alone.
Talk about civic, we're talking about basically people. We're talking about, when you talk about our civic or our civil and civic responsibility, it's about people.
This is our city, a city of good neighbors, a city where over 258,000 people live, work, and play, with a rich history, a diverse community, and an active citizenry. Our city is progressing towards a promising future. Buffalo is a city where citizens actively engage in their communities for the betterment of each other. With a strong sense of camaraderie, people in our city passionately give back to those in need. This innate desire to contribute to their communities is at the heart of their everyday motivations. It is our belief when a city lacks such a drive to help their fellow neighbors that they are not as connected as they need to be.
Relating to the duties or activities of people and relationships.
We are local areas.
My name is Samantha Nephew.
My name is Tim Kennedy.
My name is Darius Pridgeon.
My name is Paulette Chapman.
My name is James W. Pitts.
My name is Brian Higgins.
My name is Danielle Little.
My name is Crystal People-Stokes.
My name is Barbara Jane Bonham.
My name is Chris Jacobs.
I'm Byron Brown, Mayor of the City of Buffalo.
I think it's not being taught, and I think it's not understood, especially for the younger people that's coming up through high school right now, and it's not put forward to teach our kids.
These things were taught in school, but they're not taught anymore in school. And a lot of times they're not even taught at home. So I think it's important that if a person like myself gets an opportunity to come before young people like yourselves and try and talk to you about the importance of civic responsibility.
I don't think people have lost it. I think people have to be reminded of every day of the importance of being involved. They call it civic engagement because when change for the better occurs, it's typically done at the citizen level, at the community level.
People have lost civic engagement to some degree. I don't think they're as involved as they need to be, as they should be. I think all too often so many people sit back waiting for other people to do things, waiting for other people to be involved, waiting for others to make a difference in their lives. We see examples all across the country and all across the world when people are more civically engaged in a positive way, in a constructive way, in a unified and collaborative way, that their individual lives are better, their families' lives are better, their neighborhoods are better, society is better.
I think it's important because we need to recognize as a people that the people that we elect, whether we vote or not, are interested in us. There's a saying that I have that says, you may not be into politics, but politics is absolutely into you. People need to be involved because those people that intimidate some, elected officials, at the end of the day, they work for us, and it's important that they hear our voices.
You know, it's important for people to be engaged because of this. Government, the main purpose of government is about order. How we keep order. Without government, there are no police. Without government, you can go down the street at 200 miles an hour if your car can do it. But people need to be engaged because what this whole exercise in government is about the will of the people. If everybody in Buffalo, for instance, wanted the speed limit to be 100 miles per hour and they advocated for it and they could prove why it wasn't dangerous, it might be 100 miles an hour. But if people are not involved, then it leaves it up to elected officials to do what they want to do, and I don't think that that's correct. I think that elected officials are your representatives, and so if people are not engaged, then it's very difficult for the elected official to know what to do next.
I think it's very important for people to be engaged because I personally believe that a society only works, government can only do so much, and it is critically important that individuals, community organizations, church organizations also are engaged in the world, in their community, and without that, it really is hard for our area to thrive, our state to thrive, and our nation to thrive.
I think we make the civic society, we make the government, and we make religion out of our need for something bigger than ourselves. But I think we make it. I don't think it pre-exists. And again, if you don't work to make it, it won't happen.
I believe it's more important than ever before for people to engage in the process of government, in the process of community, the process of giving back. We see now on a national level, on an international level.
The way you get civically engaged to make the city better is to organize. You often hear the concept of block clubs. That's basically saying that it's very smallest level. People that live on the same block in a particular neighborhood come together toward the goal of ensuring that things improve for that particular block.
I think being civically engaged helps this area being better because I think that's the way that we will assure that the maximum amount of people benefit by the Renaissance. That it won't just be a certain group of people benefiting because the economy is better or businesses are thriving or a medical corridor is thriving, but by being civically engaged, I think it's a way to make sure that we are able to spread that Renaissance and hope in the broader community. And so I think it is probably more important now than ever before.
Well, in what ways being civically engaged helps the city be better is that you have better people. You have people who are not just concerned about themselves. There's a lot that we can learn by talking to each other and having conversations with each other, trying to understand what our differences are, and understanding that the more diversity you have in a city, the more opportunities you have in the city, and the more opportunities that people are able to take advantage of and understand that working with others is the civic responsibility, you have a better city. And I think that even though Buffalo has progressed a lot in many ways, we still have a long way to go.
Every area will benefit from civic engagement, not just some areas, but some need it more. I oversee a district that has some of the most wealthy people in Buffalo on one side of my district, and on another side of my district, some of the most struggling people financially. But both sides need to be involved civically. Now, on one side, they have the resources, they have some of my areas have the expertise, and now it is about teaching these other sides how to be engaged because it's about their livelihood, their quality of life.
I think the areas of Buffalo that would benefit the most from increased civic engagement would be the east side of Buffalo. The east side of Buffalo is extremely large, I think a lot bigger than what most people tend to think about. And the rate of civic engagement tends to be very low, understandably so from the history of disenfranchisement in the east side. But if every single person on the east side voted, it's my belief that the east side of Buffalo would absolutely run this city.
What are the areas in Buffalo that would benefit from better civic engagement? I'd say the whole city. I think the east side, I call the east side the hole in the donut. If you look at what's happening with Buffalo's renaissance, you'll find that North Buffalo, portions of South Buffalo, the west side, the lower west side, the upper west side, you'll find that many of these areas downtown are beginning to prosper. But the east side is like a hole in a donut. You can see that that's where you have the highest level of unemployment and impoverishment, etc. That's where you have the greatest need. So you've heard the old saying that a chain is only as good as its weakest link. The city of Buffalo is only as good as that hole in the donut gets filled with opportunity and better people to represent who they are.
I think all the areas, even though certain areas in Buffalo is booming and our inner city is really not. I mean, it is, but us that been here a long time it's not affecting us, so we can be engaged. So I believe that more our city, intercity need to be more involved.
I think, again, it is very, very important for young people, as it always has been, to be involved. Young people have unique perspectives. They have a unique amount of energy to be engaged. They have unbridled hope, and I think without having them engaged in the broader community, we lose out. The entire community loses out. And again, it seems to me that young people are engaged, are concerned, and are getting involved, which I think is a very positive sign for the future of Western New York.
I think it's very important because we want the young people to have something to look forward to. Because I feel like if they have more hands-on of help building the Renaissance, they'll stay. Maybe they'll stay alive. Maybe they have something to look forward to.
Totally important that young people be civically engaged in their community. And the reason that it's so important is because almost every major movement is led by young people, have the energy. Young people really bring something fresh and brand new to the table. And so young people are so important to any major movement. Young people are important to the development of community. If all of the young people in Buffalo graduated from high school and college and left, Buffalo would not be able to maintain or sustain a Renaissance.
The thing you have to realize is that the neighborhoods that we live in are the most important spaces when it comes to shaping us. For instance, there have been studies that have been developed that shows that you can predict what a person's success or failure will be based upon their zip code. So if you looked at the zip codes that most of you live in the city of Buffalo, you can look at the demographics from those zip codes and look at the educational achievements and some of the other things that people have within those zip codes in those neighborhoods. You can determine to a large extent how far they will go and what opportunities they may have or may not have. So I think it's important for young people to realize that you can never forget where you came from because it's always going to have an influence on you.
I think it's very important for young people to be civically engaged in their community because young people are the leaders of the future. Young people are the ones that will lead our community in positions of leadership, whether it is in the public sector, the private sector, organized labor, higher education, you name it. young people will be the leaders of the future, so it's important for them to develop their leadership styles, for them to be involved civically, because young people being civically engaged at an early point in their lives, I think will help them to be better, stronger, and more proactive leaders.
Obstacles that I see in the current, I would say, just political sphere of Buffalo is the fact that there has been so much disenfranchisement, and people like myself and other organizations that are working towards getting people civically engaged. I mean, one of the biggest problems in Buffalo is poverty, and it's extremely layered, it's systemic, and at the end of the day, that is what's keeping parents and I would say the youth from not being involved in civic engagement.
One of the biggest obstacles that I can find from the government and being civically engaged is communication and how information is shared. So the public doesn't really get an opportunity to be involved in what's going on if it's not publicized correctly, or if the government isn't doing a good enough job of making sure that people are aware of what's going on and are aware of the opportunities to be involved in what's going on.
Do I see any obstacles in the current city government? Well, in the government itself, I would say no, there are no obstacles. But in the people who participate in government and who either are in office or are running for office, I think that they are a deterrent because they preach hopelessness. They try to convince people that there's nothing here for them, that no one cares about them, that the waterfront is not for them, that the medical corridor is not for them, that the resurgence in our economy is not for them. That's the furthest thing from the truth. The resurgence in our economy is for everybody. It is for everybody who's willing to take some part in it. And so I think people who preach hopelessness, that's a detriment to engaging young people in a civic manner.
Do I see any obstacles? What obstacles do I see that would prevent people from being better civically engaged in government? Yes, I see a lot. When it comes to programs like this, if you don't have engaged teachers, and if you don't have leadership, whether it's staff, directors, and others who are coming in and trying to not just teach you the skills that you need as young people, but to teach you a mission and an understanding that this life, even though it's short, it can be the best life, it could be a wonderful life if you're spiritually involved and you have some purpose and you're driven by that purpose and mission. So I think that the leadership that we often see in these corporations and government are not mission driven. They're more egotistical.
Last words to people about being civically engaged would be that it's important and that it means a lot, not only for yourself, but for your community and for the people around you.
To participate in your community and have a voice and to stand up and say that this isn't right and that you deserve more.
So become involved. You'll find, you don't know where it'll take you, but I think you'll wind up a better person in all respects if you do that.
You could be civically engaged without running around with a petition, just by being involved in your community. I think it's important that every person knows the importance of being engaged, the importance of taking care of this great creation that we have, and of not depending solely on others to be the voice for you, but being a voice for yourself.
Last words about being civically engaged. Start early and do it often.
It's funny. People always be like, don't forget about the little people. It's like, why do they refer themselves as little anyway, you know? Why don't you just get big with me? Feel me? They can see it in my eyes. No matter what they tell me, I was born to be a star. They can see it in my eyes and they know that I'ma go far. Cause I got so much ambition. Yeah, I got so much ambition. Man, he got so much ambition.